And one woman who knows that more than anybody about the unique places to visit and events to do in Mississippi is Miss Brandi Perry. She is back. She's one of the original founders and still current bloggers with Backroads and Burgers. And y'all are moving and shaking, and all kinds of good things have been going on since the last time we saw you. Now, the last time you were here, Brandi, you brought Dory along with you.
I did.
Who is your new partner in crime.
Right.
And y'all hit the roads running, burning. I'm not sure how you want to say. I saw one of your posts that said you guys were going to reintroduce yourself because you had gained about 10,000 followers in the last few months.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. Is it still astounding to you that so many folks are still gravitated to the work that you guys are doing?
Yeah. Actually, just this past week, Dory and I were talking. We were working with Visit Tuscaloosa, and she said, I think it's important that we reintroduce ourselves because there's so many new people. And I looked back and I was like, there are 40,000 people on Facebook paying attention to what we're doing every single day. And that blows my mind, not to mention all the other social media outlets. So it's a lot of fun. You don't get to, I'm being a teacher, I get to put a face with every single name. And that's different to be able to do with the people that follow you on social media. But we love to meet them.
But, when you say that, too, it's what we try to do here is put a face to every single county or put a face to every single unique thing here in Mississippi, because it's one thing just to have the Rolodex of, things to do, or you get your little tour guides at the, that you may be passing through. But it's another thing to, tell the story or to understand the people behind the place. And so one of y'all's other exciting posts was about a book. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so toward the end of this past school year, we had a couple of blogger friends to sign contracts with a publisher in St. Louis named Brandi Press, and they were writing the 100 things to do in whatever their respective state is before you die. And so Dory said, "Do you think we could do that?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. How do we start?" And so we did their submission guidelines, sent them a note, and they came back and said, if you can provide this, this, and this, which was basically a marketing kit, we'll do it. And we signed the contract beginning of last week. We'll be finished with it in March, and it'll go to press. Should be published September, October of next year. So
my thing would be, Brandi, first, congratulations.
Thank you.
When you say where do you start, I'm thinking, where do you start? So we got you started over on the Good Things Facebook group. We love to sort of poll people there, and I thought this would be a wonderful question to ask. And so we want to ask you, if you had one thing to tell people to do in Mississippi before they died, what would it be? There's nothing big, there's nothing small. It's just like when you think, if you're passing through or you lived here your whole life, this is the one thing from my experience or my perspective from where I live from Mississippi that you should make sure that's on the list. So 601-879-4395. How did y'all start to categorize that? I know you've gotten, at least a headway on it. Did you come up with, different you tell me, because in my mind, you could take that 1,000 different ways.
Right. Well,
when it's only 100.
I know. When we sat down and started making a list, I had 227 things on the list.
Already.
Well,
and she doesn't need your help. Never mind. No, I'm totally kidding.
When they sent us the submission guidelines, they gave us categories to put things in. So
that's the word I was looking for.
We started having to really squeeze and cut. And when we had to cut things off the list, we looked at what was the most genuine Mississippi experience. What was that one thing that if you don't do it, you've completely missed out? And so we narrowed it down. We have about, it was food and entertainment and music, which thankfully that wasn't very hard to look for because Mississippi has tons of that.
Or food.
Right. Unique shopping experiences, which there's a lot of fun ones out there. And history, of course. And so we tried to be as deliberate as possible with our numbers, but being the history teacher, Dory had to stop me a few times and say, this cannot be a history book. You're going to have to do this a different way. And so we got it divided up, submitted it, and they loved it. So, but they have already mentioned if this one goes well, there may be some other things in the future.
I feel like it needs to be 101. I don't know why.
I know, yes, which they do offer a contract for the 100 culinary experiences you must have in each state before you die too. So there's still so much room to grow, not only with this idea, but with this publishing company. So you never know where it'll lead to.
And you never know what someone's going to text in, because we have top 100 things to do in Mississippi. Nope, never mind. Lots of visit things going on. Will says on the Facebook, go to World Catfish Festival every April in Belzoni.
Yes.
So when you think about the different festivals that have been traditioned here in Mississippi, it would be hard. There's probably 100 of those.
Oh, there could be a book just about the festivals, because there's something for everybody in every subject. You have the food festivals, the music festivals, the now Christmas festivals that come up. So there's a lot of interesting things that go on in Mississippi.
The one on Twitter that said, just swim in muddy water.
Oh.
Like, have that. Well,
yeah.
You take that one way, but it's like, it takes a Mississippian to be like, yes. So, do y'all bring in maybe some of those like looser ideas of what you should do? You can only do in Mississippi, or is it more of like concrete? If I get your book, or when I get your book, I can go and actually do those things. If that makes sense.
No, they're very concrete. Now, of course, when we're filling out this marketing thing, we had to include the address, contact information. And there are some places in Mississippi that don't have a direct address, don't have a contact information for someone that actually, runs it or whatever. So there is everything from deserted towns to the biggest festivals in the state. So lots of fun things.
I appreciate Brian, who says, very specifically for your food category, a BC, and that's Blue Canoe. Go to the Blue Canoe, get a BC burger with cracked dip fries, save room for the blueberry bread pudding from Connie's. And so so where's Connie's?
Connie's is in Tupelo. It's Connie's Fried Chicken, and they are known for their fried blueberry donuts and their cake donuts. And in a previous life, I enjoyed them immensely. Not so much since been gluten-free, but I can let Dory and other people try those. But I have had one in my life.
Well, I will take one for the team if I'm ever back in Tupelo.
Absolutely.
and have the opportunity to sort of do that. We would love to hear what you think is the one thing that should be done in Mississippi before you die. 601-879-4395. This was a tough one. So, like, for you, Brandi, or you can speak for Dory, what's one thing you fought for? Like you said, this is not making the cut, because you said you had like over 200 and something.
Yeah. One thing that we could not leave out was the Mississippi Literary Festival. The book festival.
Yeah, which is coming up August 20th.
Yes, I think that is such a huge part of not only our culture, but our history here. So I really fought for that one as a writer. I really had to have that. And I also fought for a couple of our restaurants. Coney Island Cafe in downtown Hattiesburg. Been there. The Fakakis family has had it for 100 years. Used to be a farmer's market sort of thing. And there's just some things in Mississippi that are going to be huge if they ever don't exist anymore. So there's several things on the list. Hopefully everybody can get a copy soon.
Edith Smith County watermelon.
Oh, I have to agree with that.
I just feel like you can't. Your Mississippi card will be revoked if
right.
you don't necessarily take part in that.
And if you show up at the Mice Watermelon Festival, you can knock out both.
You cannot. Yes, you can.
And be in a seed spitting contest.
I would be terrible at it. Do they still let you do that post-COVID?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It just feels like one of those things that wouldn't make it back into
this side of COVID.
Into this side of COVID. I'm surprised now they don't have candles that like clap on and off.
Oh, I agree.
Instead of blow, you think about it. Okay, we took a complete derail there, but Rhino, you jump in. If one thing to do in Mississippi before you die, what would you add?
Well, I would add something to your trip to Tupelo, because there is an overlook that has now been. I don't know the exact wording it is when you place a statue on a point. I think there's a word for that, but I can't remember it. But basically, they've put a statue of Elvis on this hill overlooking East Tupelo, where Elvis grew up. And it's him in a cape, and he's got his arms out. And when the sun sets, it's just him welcoming the sunset. And it's a beautiful view of the city. and it is definitely worth a stop.
That's
Absolutely.
cool.
I didn't know anything about that.
I
so
didn't either. See,
definitely going to have to head back to Tupelo.
that's the kind of, for a blueberry donut, that's the kind of stuff that you learn when you read the books and you tune in here to Good Things. Stephen Batesville says you have to take a walking tour through Jonestown, Mississippi at night. I would add, if you hadn't also done a night tour of Natchez Cemetery, you're missing out. But don't miss out on us. We'll be back here with more with Brandi coming up next here on Good. Tomorrow, we're finding out more about what's going on with Backroads and Burgers. We have founder Brandi Perry here with us, and her business partner Dory. They have gotten the green light to write 100 things to do in Mississippi before you die. We've asked you to let us know what would you add to the list of things to do. We've got Boyd says go to the dock, which sadly I don't think the dock is no longer there. If it was, though, it would
be in there.
It would be in there. I feel like that is one entertainment establishment that
For
everyone probably has memories of far and wide. The Broadwater Hotel and Marina with a 3-level pool, and then go to Friendship House in Biloxi, and of course the ZZ Top at the ZZ Top at the Coliseum. Can't do that, but you can go to, is it their memorial? Or which memorial is it?
Leonard Skinner.
Leonard Skinner. Similar. Not that genre. So forgive me for the Leonard Skinner fans out there. But there's just so much to do. You can't imagine coming up with only 100. But I know festivals are on there. And we got one that hopefully will make the list that's coming up in your hometown, Columbia.
Yes.
So Columbia is having its food and music festival. Now, we're very familiar with the wonderful things you guys do around the holidays there in Columbia. It's become a staple of what we do every December, and then what a lot of folks do. So now we're dipping into food and music. Is this new, or has this been going on?
Very new. This is our first year. So we had held the Freedom Fest for a couple of years, 4th of July weekend, but bad weather always seemed to put a damper on it. We'd have 2 or 3 hours of really good festival weather, and then a storm would blow up. So the idea was brought up. We have a committee from all walks of life. The chamber is involved. Main Street Columbia is involved. We have people from area businesses involved. And I got a text one day that at school last year that just said, when you get a phone call this afternoon, I just need you to say yes. And I was like, okay. So it was pitched to us that if we would help bring in the food truck aspect of it. And so we're going to do food truck music, and September 3rd, downtown Columbia. It's going to be from 11 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. We're capping it at 15 food trucks, and we have 12 right now. So there's not a lot of wiggle room in terms of food trucks. But if you're still interested in being there, please reach out to us. And they're coming from all over the state. We have a couple out of Louisiana that are coming, and we're hoping this is something that we can continue to grow on.
That's a whole category in itself.
It is. It
has created a life of its own. Each truck has like its own cult following.
Yes.
Which when you get to know how their business is ran, you have an appreciation for the fact they never leave that truck.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's a 24-hour operation, even though they're going around and meeting you in different places.
That's right.
And it feels like the coolest food comes out, even though some of it is exactly what you would get in a storefront.
But it just tastes different on a street.
It just hits a little different.
Right.
Do you know some of the trucks that will be there?
I do. So Jonathan Beard with Crooked Letter. And I know Crooked Letter has quite the following. So Crooked Letter will be there with his amazing hamburgers. And he was one of the first people we reached out to because he is so popular during the Christmas holiday in Columbia. So reached out to him. We have the Greek gals are coming in, all Greek food. Can you imagine Greek food downtown Columbia? So street dough is coming. A couple of our local food trucks are going to be there. We're going to have everything from Greek food to hamburgers to pizza to chicken on a stick to anything you need to cool you down in the afternoons as well. So edible cookie dough, Kona ice, Italian ice, and I'm sure there will be. I know we have a couple of seafood restaurants that are vying for a spot, and so
I've never met a cookie dough that wasn't edible.
Oh, me either. I was eating cookie dough before I knew it wasn't edible. So
So what you're saying is FDA approved
Yes.
to be served? No, safe. Yes. Meaning no eggs or whatever in it, but still delicious.
Right. So we're taking a little bit of a different approach to this festival. We're not allowing arts and craft vendors to set up because our thought was to allow our downtown merchants to really be open that day because there's such a huge concentration on shopping during the Christmas holidays. We wanted to give them another outlet to do that as well. So our hope is people come, park, eat 3 meals a day, shop a lot, listen to some really great music, and we have a committee working just on the musical acts.
I was going to say, talk about the music. What kind of that? What kind of music
I think it's going to be a variety. From what I understand, there are several bands that have reached out, and from my understanding, they're going to let them play, hour, an hour and a half in this location and kind of move around and have a main stage that'll close out the night. So,
I was going to say, will the main stage be the 20-footer where they have you for Christmas?
No, it'll be a little smaller than that.
That's the only time I've ever gone to host Good Things that I had to check Jesus before I walked up the stairs because it was quite a hall up there.
It is a hall up there. Now, is that the one that was where the big ornament?
Jumbotron. Yeah. Y'all need to bring that back for the food and music festival.
Well, the Jumbotron is still up, and it has been utilized throughout the year. It puts our graduates from the local schools are on there. There's advertising now on it, and there are a couple of rumors that there might be a couple of restaurants opening in downtown Columbia as well that is definitely needed. And so by the time you get there in December, there may be some awesome things going on there that you didn't know about.
Any Christmas lights turned on during the Food and Music Festival? I feel like we need to see like one Rudolph or something.
Well, I'll try to get a string and throw them over something and light them up. If you show up, I'll light Christmas lights. We'll light them up on something.
No, I think that's one thing. And you just think, oh gosh, you would leave them up all year. No, they don't do that. They start working on those very early, though, I think, in November, and do all of that. But this just goes to show that Columbia can host other, sort of great events.
Right.
You mentioned your downtown merchants. Y'all have the cutest downtown. It really is kind of like a walkable, like sort of square or whatever. Yeah. If we're thinking in terms of shopping, like, help us out. What's down there to come in, purchase, and buy?
Tons of boutiques, like local boutiques where you can buy the newest boutique clothing. We also have a men's boutique now, a men's clothing store. You also have Hill Hardware, which is one of the oldest hardware stores in the state. A couple of restaurants that I'm not exactly... I know there's a new ice cream parlor downtown, but there's also another restaurant that I'm not able to speak on yet, where you might get a good tummy-filling pizza at some point.
I was like, how are we going to get around this?
I know, that's what I was trying to think, how to not say it. And
there may be pepperonis on the menu.
And we also have, just outside of our downtown, is Main Street Seafood, which was a huge hit during crawfish season, and I've heard their shrimp po' boys are to die for. So our downtown is just full. We have a history museum. We now have... and I don't even know what they call it, but like an American Wildlife Museum. So there's a lot of great things going on. And we have a movie theater that shows 2 new movies every week. So, and not many small towns can say that anymore. So it's going to be it's going to be an awesome weekend in Columbia for sure.
And that is September the 3rd.
September 3rd from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. or later. I mean, we're really not putting any end time on it.
11 p.m. You better be back out of this house.
Right.
But that's when probably the music and stuff will start to wind down for sure.
Yeah, it will. So it's going to be, we really think if the weather holds off, there's no, hurricane or anything sliding out of the Gulf.
Knock on something.
That this might be the thing that replaces our July festival and becomes an annual event that we can continue to see grow. If analytics and history have anything to do with it, if we're guessing 7,500 to 10,000 people, that may not be.
How many? What's the numbers in analytics for y'all's December holiday?
I don't know right off, but thousands and thousands. I know from when the lights turn on, people already are downtown looking, but I don't know about the actual numbers when it comes to purchasing.
One thing that folks like, as much as they like pretty lights to see, it's good music to hear and good food to eat. So you definitely are going to have those 2 pairings. Is there anywhere they can go to maybe see the lineup once it gets out and posted, or see the food trucks,
Yes,
or plan
that
their
is
day?
something that we're going to be working on this week. We're going to start unveiling those. You can go to the Columbia Food and Music Festival Facebook page or follow Backroads and Burgers for updates. So as things come out, we'll both be posting them.
So since this will be the first, people hate you when you say first annual, the
Yes.
first one,
Yes.
whatever, however, don't hate on me. It's odd to say either
is.
one of them. The first one, and then it'll be annual, hopefully. Well, thinking about one of the things one of the 100 things you should do in Mississippi before you die is go to the Catfish Festival.
Yes.
Well, one thing that makes them cool is you can collect the posters.
Right.
Because it's also got like a music connective. So
Yes.
y'all need
That's a
something
great idea. To have a collectible while
to
they're
have a
there.
collectible, whether it's a poster.
Yes.
I mean, no folks like T-shirts, but whatever. Like I don't know what your thing would be, but
That's a great idea.
there's a free idea there on
Thank
Good
you.
Things. Will you buy me a gyro from the
You
Greek
can do
ladies?
it. We can do it.
All right, stick with us. We got more with Brandi and Backroads and Burgers coming up next. Or we hope we're inspiring you to see Mississippi at some point.
Right.
I feel like every time you come and join us here, Brandi, that's what we have to do. It's like inspire folks to get out and see. I know that's what y'all are doing with your new book, 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die. Is there any way to stay on the know about when that will be published, or early releases,
Yeah,
or keeping up with all that?
Yeah, that'll also be on Backroads. If you follow Backroads Facebook or Instagram, we'll have things posted on there. Also, you can head over and look at Reedy Press. It's Reedy. They're out of St. Louis. They have authors all over the country that are writing amazing things about big cities and states throughout the country.
And then you have your day job of being a teacher, which you'll get
Yes.
started back doing in a couple of weeks. Don't sound so excited. And then, which I feel like we're all at that. It came so fast.
Yeah.
But going through your Backroads and Burgers Facebook page, y'all have just been on some adventures this summer. So let's talk about some of the Mississippi ones. Where have you guys been out looking and doing and communicating on?
Well, we've been pretty much all over the state this summer doing something. Also, we also work with Eat Drink Mississippi magazine, so that takes us a lot of places. We usually have 3 articles a month going to them. Just recently, I was in Shabuda, Quitman area, which I don't know if you can get there from here, but I was at a little place called Breckenridge Farms. They are the largest muscadine farm in the world in terms of plants, and they have a really cool setup there. They have a farmer's market. They make some of the best ice cream I've ever had in my life.
Is it muscadine ice cream?
Yes, and it's phenomenal.
I would have never thought.
I know. Well, I got stuck there in a storm, so they just started handing me things to try, and I'm so thankful they did because it was a lot of fun. But they have festivals now and events that are going on there. I know they're planning a muscadine festival, so make sure you follow them on Facebook. And I was also at the Simmons Wright store in Kewanee, Mississippi, just above Meridian.
We're going for it.
and it's one of, I love old stores, like old general stores, and this one has been there over 120 years. You can get a plate lunch, or you can buy your next antique that goes in your home or office, and there's just so many cool places. We'll be headed up to Cleveland, Mississippi this fall, and Cleveland is always one of my favorite places to visit.
Oh, yeah, they're rocking and rolling up there in terms of what you could do on a weekend. You could plan a whole weekend around touring Cleveland. Where do y'all get your assignments, or where you're going in terms of Mississippi? I mean, is it from folks who just give you a lead? Is it more of like, folks now figuring out, the power of social media, and you've got 40,000 followers to sort of help on the promotion side of what they're doing, or a combination?
So it's a little bit of a combination. With Eat Drink Mississippi, they basically say, here are the things or the themes you can cover in this next issue. And we always try to cover a festival or a farm. And then they kind of let us choose what we want to do with the rest. As far as Backroads, if people reach out and say, hey, we'd love to talk to you about coming and working with us, then that's how that happens. I know just in our introductory post that we reintroduced the other day, we had 3 or 4 people reach out, including some businesses, and that's how we got in touch with Visit Cleveland. So we have a couple of people that we need to follow up with in the small business world, but hopefully that's something we can get done this fall as well.
And Mississippi's not the only ones who have Backroads, and you guys have had the pleasure of maybe expanding, taking your Mississippi roots elsewhere. Where else are you visiting?
We've been to Irving, Texas, and Las Colinas this year, outside of Dallas. If you ever get a chance to go, is spectacular. I actually typed Roll Tide on a post in Tuscaloosa this past week, which was very hard for me to do, being a Southern Miss fan. But I did hashtag Roll Tide. So we worked in Tuscaloosa. And
in fairness, you were paid to.
I was, yes. So it wasn't as hard doing that there. And we worked on the Alabama Gulf Coast. So we just got back from Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. A little bit of business and pleasure, hoping that's something that opens up internationally as well.
I saw someone say the other day, they posted and they were like, unpopular opinion, but Southern folks, there are more places to vacation than the mountains or the beach.
Right.
And it's
yes.
And you get in your routines and you have the familiarity of where you're going. And then many of you have your beach spot, your mountain spot, whatever it may be. And then you learn the locals there. And so it becomes like an extended second place. But what I've learned is, man, there are so many other towns just throughout the Southeast, of course, here in Mississippi, that can offer you up a wonderful vacation that you would have never just... Yeah. What do you think stops people the most from going to like Irving, Texas or Cleveland or,
being uneducated on what to expect. And I hope that's something Backroads and Burgers is trying to mend. You do get in a routine. People don't like change, but I really think if we can put out there things that there are to do, maybe we can get more tourism dollars and people visiting these places. I know that for me, I've never visited Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa was a stop on the interstate to stop at a Cracker Barrel, get gas or whatever, headed off to the mountains or anywhere else. But there and visit Gulf Shores, Alabama beaches, there's so much more there than what most tourists see. Now, granted, if I go to the beach, I'm planting my tail in the sand, and I'm probably not moving till dinner. And we got to see so much more that most people never even attempt to visit. So I'm hoping that will eventually have people traveling a little bit more.
Which I hope that you have Ship Island in your book.
It is there,
because when you think about beaches in Mississippi, well, you got the Mississippi Gulf Coast, but it's an entire experience, because you catch the ferry, you get to go over there. There's the whole history behind Ship Island, and then you have the whole, the other side of the island where the sands actually, looks different and the water hits different, and
it's like a different ecological system on the island, and there's so much history that people don't realize. There was a resort out in those barrier islands a long time ago before it just kind of caved. But there's a ton of things that, I hear, of course, you hear people having a misconception about Mississippi all the time. Well, there's nothing to do there. There's nothing. And that's what I hope this book brings forward, that there's so much to do there that we had to limit it. You have to put it in categories, or I could write all day.
You mentioned that your publisher is also offering that to maybe other bloggers in other states.
Yes.
And you feel like every state is rich in its own history, that the people who usually live there are the ones who don't take advantage of the opportunities there to be educated or to get enriched, or, which in small pockets you do. Everybody knows their small town favorites, but it's like, this is the world of oversharing. And we should go and all live in the good food that's within driving distance.
And that's how Backroads started. It just started with us kind of exploring places that we'd never been and realizing there's so much more outside of our little area. And I never foresaw that it would turn into what it is now.
Well, even Columbia
is doing a lot of good things right now.
And then it's the Little Grand Canyon, which is
Red Bluff.
And someone on the text line said one of the things that should be of 100 things that you should do in Mississippi before you die, a bike ride from Monticello Downriver Road to Red Bluff.
Yes, and that is actually the chamber in Monticello hosts a river ride every year, and it's gotten very popular. And I think it goes into Marion, Lamar, and Lawrence County, but it's along the Old River Road, which many of the settlers to that region settled, and some of the most beautiful scenery in the state.
Is it a paved road? Is it a dirt road? Is it a gravel road?
It's a little bit of everything. You'll find every aspect of of Mississippi on that ride.
So I have to say, because we're fixing to come up and close out Good Things in a second, you posed a question a while ago that was talking about 100 things in Mississippi before you die, and you said, would you rather know when you die or how you die? Mm-hmm. I have still been contemplating that. Yeah. So I thought we would open that up for something fun and morbid to end on. But 601-879-4395. I'm curious now, if you got to choose, if you knew how or when, or you could choose how or when, which one would you pick?
I'd have to go with when, not how. Because then I'd be doing everything possible to avoid my how.
Okay, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm a planner too, so I need to know these things.
But if I knew how, you would try to, right, then I'd try to prepare for it to be less painful. But then you wouldn't know when, so then you're going to be just carrying around this fear of
burden.
Yeah, but if it said like a shark attack, you could probably try to push the wind back as far as possible. The lady told you on YouTube, you go to the beach, you don't go to the ocean.
That's true.
You don't go to the shark's house.
That's very true.
So would you want to know when or how? Let's contemplate that. And a little bit more fun with Brandi coming up next. Of which you threw me this curveball, Brandi, of, you're writing the book, you and Dory are writing the book, 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die. And then you were like, well, if you got to choose whether you knew how you're going to die or when, which would you choose? And it's very perplexing to me. I can't decide on that one. But I'm with Jeff in Oxford that says, can the Lord just come get me so I don't have to decide?
I'll vote for that as well.
Can I just fly out on a cloud or a chariot like the other lucky ones sort of got to do? I did love this one, though, talking about what should be added to your list. Mm-hmm. Someone said, leave. Every Mississippian needs to leave, to pack up, just get away for a while. That way, when you return, you'll enjoy it more when you get back. And at first I was like, oh man, there's always one in every group, that says like leave, which but you see a lot of, they talk about brain drain and they talk about folks leaving. You've got story after story of folks who did go on to, bigger pastures in terms of city life or other places. And a large majority of them find their way on back. They come on back home.
I know one of our favorite things when we're traveling is crossing that state line. It makes you feel like you're a little bit closer to home. And then for Dory to cross into Lawrence County and for me to cross into Marion, it's just, it's like the arm embrace gets a little tighter the closer you get, and there's a safety net there. And so as much as I like being on the road, as much as I love traveling and seeing this world, it's so nice to get back to what you know.
And to know that that's like, it's considered home. It's where your roots are. There's there's sort of a level of comfort to it. And, too, again, taking interest or vested interest in all the good things we have here is what keeps Mississippi for, a lot longer. What's something you were surprised to be on the list? Did Dory bring something to your attention that said, okay, let's put that on the list?
Yeah. Food-wise, we have so many incredible things out there, but from a shopping experience, those were my hardest ones, and they like the unique shopping. And so one of the things that Dory brought to the table, which she and her family are huge Mississippi State fans, so this was an easy one, is the cheese store in Starkville. And so with Eat Drink Mississippi, we had a chance to explore that facility. We had a chance to see how that goes from the cow to the process of being shipped out. And Edam cheese, there's just nothing like it. And that store there to have all those amazing products made right there in Starkville. And so she brought that to the table, and I was like, well, of course, best ice cream, best cheese, best milk, best everything right there. So
did the yard sale, and I'm going to flub it, but I think it may run through Mississippi, but it's like one of the largest yard sales in America may come through. I see Ron over there doing his great finger wanding to Google to catch me out of the hole I'm digging myself. It's in like Tishomingo County. It's up north. and it's we've had them here on Good
Trash and
Things.
Treasures along the Tin Tom Waterway.
Yes.
Oh.
And so, how many miles is it?
Oh, it's a long ways, 234 miles.
So it comes through Mississippi.
Correct. It starts just north of the state line, comes through Mississippi, and follows the Tin Tom, I believe, just a little bit into Alabama.
And I can't remember when it happens, but you're sitting there. But
I had no idea about that.
So it's a garage. So you show up. I mean, there's some but you just show up, and it's just this big long. They probably would prefer flea market experience than
Right.
garage sale, but they call it what? Trash and
Treasures along the Tin Tom Waterway. It's
So
scheduled for the end of September, 1st of October.
so they own it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's pretty cool. I would have to think in terms of unique shopping experiences.
That is
antique
very unique. Yeah.
But antique shopping would have had to made the list.
Yes, there is like Lucky Rabbit in Hattiesburg is on there, and you get a little bit of a mix of old and new with that. And there's some really cool things that we discovered. And I say discovered because with us both working on it, we kind of mashed our list and said, well, what repeated and why this? And so, which, I'm a list maker. I like to make lists about everything. And so I think we were actually leaving Starkville, Mississippi, and I started going down the list. And Dory would say, why that? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know, because I like it, So we had to take some time to really purge it. But I really hope the Columbia Food and Music Festival eventually makes that list.
It will, and that's coming up September the 3rd.
September 3rd. And if you need anything or want more information, go check out the Facebook page or check out Backroads and Burgers.
All righty, but you guys stick